Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Commission. The time is 7:01, August 4th, 2020. I now call the East Lyme Planning Commission regular meeting to order. This meeting is being held via video conference on Zoom. I'm going to do a roll call and we will seat some alternates, I think. Michelle Williams.
I'm here.
Tom Fitting.
I'm here.
Rich Gordon.
I'm here.
Nicole Davison is not here. Mary Salvatore is not here. And myself, Kirk Scott, I'm here. And for the record, I'd like to invite Brian Bombach to sit as a member this evening.
Oh, it looks like Marianne is here.
Okay, so that's good.
Yep, I'm here.
Hi.
Hello, hello
You
everyone.
didn't miss anything. We were doing roll call. So
Perfect.
we see that you're here. So we're going to seat Brian, and Mr. Goeschel is here. Jen Lindo is running the meeting. Sue Spang is our recording secretary, and Mark Salerno, ex officio, is with us as well. So I'm just reading down my agenda here. Okay, so also a couple of notes about Zoom meetings. All the members of the commission, if we could limit whatever comments appear in the comment section to items related to exactly what we're speaking about, that would be helpful. We don't want to get off topic with our comments. And also, if you're not planning to speak, please mute your microphone so we don't get a lot of background noise. And also, as required by the executive order, anyone who's wanting to speak must state their name and where they're from prior to speaking. So let me. All right. So let's get started with, is there a call for additions to the agenda this evening? Anyone? No? Okay, hearing no calls for additions to the agenda, we're going to move on to the call for public delegations. Public delegations is a time when members of the public are invited to speak to the commission about certain matters, items, referrals, or applications subject to a decision by the committee. A public hearing or in litigation may not be discussed. During the delegations, the members of the commission will not directly answer questions or make comment. Are there anybody wanting to speak to public delegations?
I have two people that I'm going to unmute just to clarify what they're here for. John, I was trying to unmute you to find out if you wanted to speak.
I got nothing to say, but thanks for the offer.
You're welcome. Wendy, if you want to unmute yourself, did you have a comment? Wendy? Okay.
All right.
And
so,
I believe the other folks are from Upper Pat. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas, are you just here for the other part?
We're actually Upper Kensington.
Upper Kensington, I'm sorry.
Just as an FYI, a lot of folks are probably not on because of the power outage.
Right. Yep.
yeah,
We're
we're
listening
aware,
at this
and
point.
we're gonna. We are aware that there are a lot of people that probably won't be at the meeting tonight, and we're gonna conduct it accordingly. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
That's everybody from the public. Everybody else is a member or staff.
okay, great. Okay, so moving on to reports, communications. Mr. Goeschel, have we had any new communications?
I have none that have come in.
Okay, zoning representative, have they had another zoning meeting?
No,
No?
they're having one next week, which is the 13th on Thursday. It's a Zoom meeting. I don't know which one of you is up for the August meeting, but if somebody wants to volunteer, I'll make sure you get an invitation.
Well, let's see, 8, 9, Mary Salvatore. I'm looking at my spreadsheet that we had from, geez,
Yep.
this was starting from January 1st, 2020. So way back then, we came up with a spreadsheet.
Yep.
And I'm looking at that, and it looks like
Mary's
yeah.
it.
Unless we want to make if she can't make it, then we should try to find somebody else to go. So
I'll put it in
Mary,
my
do you want to go to
schedule.
that meeting?
I'll put it in my schedule.
yeah, normally we just like to have somebody go and just observe the meeting and then give us like a
It's going to be very short, I can tell you that.
general overview of what was
Yeah, they haven't
discussed.
met since what, January or something, right? They haven't, or definitely before February, yeah.
Okay.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, just on that note, Mariette, just so you know, whenever you're before the zoning commission, because you sit on planning, you have to remain silent, so you will have no opportunity to speak before them. Just,
Okay,
and the same goes with them when they attend our meetings. They can't
okay,
come. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's on to ex officio. Mr. Salerno, do you have anything you'd like to report?
I'm unmuting. Just that we have a Board of Selectmen meeting on Wednesday, and it's a very important one because we're expecting to hear from you guys on the POCD. So that's Wednesday at 7:30, so we look forward to seeing you there. The only other topic we'll be talking about is the public safety building. So that will be Wednesday, so look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, on to Mr. Goeschel, Director of Planning.
No correspondence at this time, other than I'd like, as we move into the POCD, just thank everyone who worked on it, for their effort and the countless hours that they put in. Without their help and their effort, truth be told, they are the authors of this document, not me. I mean, that's, so thank you so much for your help, and I'll let Michelle take it from here.
Yeah, so that's a really great segue. And Michelle, would you like to speak?
Yes, sure.
And
So
talk about this?
I'd like to echo Gary's thanks to the POCD subcommittee / steering committee, made up of a number of people here on the Planning Commission, just Rich, Kirk, myself, Gary, obviously, and Larry
Rosemary.
Fitzgerald, and Norm Peck from zoning, as well as Rosemary Osfeld from the Inland Wetlands Commission. As is the case with everything in the world right now, COVID-19 really threw us for a loop and put a bit of a wrench in our plans. We lost 3 months of work, but we're still able to put together a document to send to the Board of Selectmen with your approval here tonight, should the vote go that way, so that we can kick off the necessary timelines and public hearing processes to make sure that our 10-year update for the Plan of Conservation and Development gets submitted to the state by its deadline of December 10th, 2020. This is important for a number of reasons. Obviously, we all on the Planning Commission understand the value of having a good roadmap and vision and plan for the town. But it's also important to meet the deadline because towns that do not file their updates on time are not eligible for discretionary funding for the state. Another thing that, especially during COVID-19, we really want to make sure we are eligible for those things like steep grants and such like that. So the updated POCD is available on the link that Jen sent us with all of the materials for today. You'll see that it is still very much a draft in terms of things like needing figure numbers for the graphs and a couple of notes here and there where we're checking some facts. Sorry, I'm at my parents' house because they have a generator and their phone is ringing and I have no idea how to hang it up. So enjoy this lovely background music. They're outside somewhere. It's probably my sister. So anyway, the document is in there and our next steps here are to send the plan to the Board of Selectmen for their meeting tomorrow. They have 60 days, Gary, jump in if I say anything wrong. They have 60 days to review it and get back to us with any notes. We at the Planning Commission will post the draft to the town website by the end of September for the public to view. And then we're required to hold a public hearing here at the Planning Commission to solicit any public input on the draft before we then eventually approve it and send it to the state. The Board of Selectmen can hold a public hearing on it if they want to. I'm told in the past this option hasn't been exercised, but of course it's there should the Board of Selectmen want to hold their own public hearing on it. So I think hopefully we as a subcommittee have kept you in the loop as we've gone along as far as our goals and objectives for the plan, but it is there for you to review in detail. And of course we can discuss over the next several months as we go through the process. But what I would be hoping for tonight is that we could entertain a motion to go ahead and move it over to allow us to give it to the Board of Selectmen to start their review process and kick off the timeline. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. That was a good recap of where we are and why it's important.
I mean, short of
I think-
reviewing with the commission, the changes this year that were new to the document, we had to add in a sewer shed map. We also, what was the other item?
We added a bunch of sustainability information. That was a requirement this year from the state. We also managed to shorten the document by about 100 pages for ease of readability. And you'll see when you review it that there is a section for a recommendations matrix, which will be a section where we kind of just list out all of the recommendations from the various chapters so that you can just go to one page to kind of get a view of all of those things at the end. That is not yet complete. You'll see a note that that's coming. It's not new material. It's just going to be a collected list at the end of the document.
So as I would recommend to all the members of the commission to go ahead and open that document and read it as much as they possibly can, and start making some notes that we can discuss as we go forward. Michelle, I think it might be fitting if you made the motion.
Yeah, great. I would move to approve the Plan of Conservation and Development for draft to send along to the Board of Selectmen for their meeting tomorrow night.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Rich Gordon.
Thanks, Rich.
Any discussion regarding the motion? Okay, I'm gonna take roll here as we do the vote. I guess I could start with myself and say aye. Let's see, where's it? Michelle Williams,
Aye.
Tom Fitting,
Aye.
Rich Gordon,
Aye.
Mary Salvatore,
Aye.
Kirk Scott, myself, I already voted. I'll say it again, aye. And Mr. Baumbeck?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show that the motion carries, and we will be referring this to the Board of Selectmen. I feel like there should be like popcorn, champagne
Something.
popping and like confetti flying right now.
So we can do one of these.
Okay. So on to the next. Let's see where I gotta get my notes back here. All right, so that brings us up to notes for myself. I really don't have much to say other than thank you to everybody who was involved in that process. It was really, really good teamwork. Also, I was neglected to send out a link. I was going to send out a link to the land use documentation. I still think it's important for everybody on the commission to sort of familiarize themselves with some of the material that was provided through that. It's really good stuff for everybody to know. And I will be sending that out soon. So that brings us to the meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 27th, 2020, the special meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Michelle. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second. Rich Gordon.
Rich Gordon. Any discussion or corrections? I will say the agenda that I was looking at for today shows the secretary as being Lawrence Fitzgerald. So the meeting minutes from last time, I didn't actually see if they said that or if the last agenda showed Larry as the secretary, but we should probably make it clear that Michelle Williams is the secretary.
Okay. I left that blank because I wasn't sure who was the secretary, so it didn't have Larry on there. I'll put Michelle on from now on.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll fix the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to do another roll call for meeting minutes. Michelle Williams.
Aye.
Aye. Tom Fitting.
Aye.
Rich Gordon.
Aye.
Nicole. Oh, Nicole's not here. Mary Salvatore.
Aye.
Kirk Scott. Aye. Brian Bomback.
Aye.
Okay, so let the record show we approved the meeting minutes. Which brings us to our public hearing. Mr. Goeschel, did we get the, we were waiting on a report from Ledgelight Health District. That's still pending?
Correct. We're still waiting on that. We did receive several items for the record from the applicant, who is here tonight being represented by Mr. Geraghty. Obviously, we have to accept those items. We can discuss them tonight. He's here if he wants to discuss. I think in light of some of the power outages, it may be in our best interest to table the discussion and schedule a special meeting as was previously discussed at the last meeting. I'm available, whenever, for the most part in the next 2 weeks. So obviously we have 35 days to conduct this hearing, and we should be able to go, I think, to the second to last week of August, which would be within the 35 days.
I have unmuted Attorney Geraghty, so Paul, if you need to jump in anywhere, you're not muted anymore.
If I could, thank you, Jen. Mr. Chairman, if I may, at the close of the last meeting, from the Planning Commission's perspective, I think Mr. Goeschel has said that the application was complete and all the documents were in and there weren't any particular comments from staff in regard to that. So I'm going to make a request in a minute when I get there, but I want to bring everybody up to speed. I spoke with Danielle Holmes at Ledgelight on Friday, and candidly, I was a bit disturbed about the conversation because she was unfamiliar with lots 19, 21, and the revisions that we're making to it, I had to explain to her what was going on, even though she's approved these previously. And so I don't expect her to have, because I told her there was a public hearing conducted, that the commission was waiting for her response on this. And I am not entirely sure that she's going to have this even within the time frame that would be left if the commission were inclined to extend or continue the meeting in order to wait for a response from Ledgely. And unfortunately, this is not the only property I've had some issues with. I have reached out to her supervisor to try and talk with her. Unfortunately, her supervisor does not come back until next Monday. She's on vacation right now. So I'm from my client's perspective, my client is apoplectic because this costs them money every day. From my perspective, I'm acutely frustrated because my client has tried to get documents to them. We had an issue with the fact that plans were stamped draft, notwithstanding the fact that in the letter I wrote to Mr. Goeschel the other day, they were stamped and signed by an engineer in the licensed land surveyor. So we mark them draft, as I think you noted in my last hearing, simply because we expect changes and we want to be able to know that something doesn't get out there, people thinking it's the final product if it's subject to staff comment. So I would ask the commission tonight, in my letter to Mr. Goeschel, I indicated that the commission can condition its approval upon a permit from Ledgely for the septic. Some of the things we included in the memorandum that was submitted today by Kristen Clark, who is the PE and is a member of my client's entity, were the plans for the proposed septics that we've had out there. They're the GST leaching systems. It's a high-tech environmental system. We put that in the document in an effort to give some comfort to this commission. The law is clear in terms of the Planning Commission can condition an approval upon another agency's action if it's reasonably certain that that agency will in fact conduct a hearing on it or review it and issue an approval. That doesn't have to, but the law also says, and if that agency fails to do so, then the actions of this agency, the Planning Commission, are essentially not invalid, but the permit can't issue because the permit would be, or the approval would be invalid based on the condition in the approval. So we're going to ask tonight that the commission approve this conditionally, with the caveat that we receive from Ledgely approved septic plans. And the reason typically I'd be less concerned about that, but we submitted the plans to Ledgely in March of this year. And we've had sporadic feedback from them and tried to reach out to them and respond as quickly as possible in all those circumstances. And it's been pulling teeth, frankly, You'll see some documents in the memo that was submitted regarding prior dealings with Ledgely in the lawsuit. And that's what really frustrates us at this point in time, that we feel like we're going down that road again. I hope the hell we're not. But from a developer standpoint, time is money, and we're trying to do the right thing. This is frustrating. The other issue I'd like to address is just some of the comments. I did have a chance to review the letter from one of the neighbors or from the neighbors that was submitted last week, and we've addressed that in part. But I think the big issue there was the fact that the
Can I interrupt you just for
certainly,
1 second here?
certainly, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we have not opened the public hearing per se at this very moment, and I'm feeling like the fact that we heard from some people who live in the neighborhood that this development is going into are unable to attend because they're without power. So there's one issue. So I don't believe that it would really behoove us to go much further into details and go on in that. I feel like we can't close the public hearing tonight because there's people that are trying to attend that cannot. Between that and not seeing the health, the report from Ledgely Health District, I feel like I want to table this discussion.
Well, I would ask then for the shortest possible time frame, perhaps next week rather than the end of the month. It would be almost 6 months since we made application to legislate.
Thank you. Gary, where are we at in our schedule as far as when we can put the meeting out till?
You give me 1 second. I'll look that up.
And I am sensitive to the fact that you do have some time constraints. I do understand that, but I feel like we want to make sure that the public is able to have their say in this. And I at this point, I really don't see a need to rush through and try to push this through tonight, given those two factors that I just said. So Gary, where are we in the schedule?
I'm looking that up as we speak.
Okay. And Gary, have you had some interactions with Ledgelight regarding this? And do you have a sense that some of these documents be forthcoming, or that document?
I would imagine. I did speak to Ms. Holmes last week. She said she was waiting on the stamped and signed plans by the engineer. So my understanding after listening to Mr. Geraghty, those plans were forwarded to her by the applicant. So I would have to speak to her to see where she is at with her review.
Okay.
Second.
We opened the public hearing about
So we opened it
July
on
27th.
July 27th.
for calculator here.
Today's August 4th.
Be 8/31 is 35 days from July 27th.
Okay. Well, I mean, we could continue the public hearing, say, a week from now, but I would want a couple of things. I would for sure want to make sure that the public would be able to participate fully, but it would be nice to have all the documentation so that we can just have everything on the table and make a decision.
And Mr. Chair, just so I'm clear, when you say the documentation, the only thing I would understand, Gary can correct me if I'm wrong, that would be needed is a notice from Ledgelight that the B100 application is approved. It's a single document in terms of that, right?
Okay, so thank you for helping me with that. Yeah.
Per section 5-4 of the subdivision regulations require the sanitation report. And a copy of the proposed plan must be provided to the health department, which it has been. The final sentence there says a letter from the health department must be provided certifying the land to be subdivided and subdivision plans are satisfactory for on-site sewage disposal systems. So that's
so I want to see that.
For the regulations. We have everything else in place minus that letter.
And I agree. I do understand that we could do a provisional or a contingent approval on that. And I do understand that, but I feel like having a full-on discussion tonight is probably not. It's not.
I understand. I understand.
So just given the storm and all that, I feel like we probably should continue. Gary, do you think maybe a week or
Either-
2 weeks?
I was going to recommend 2 weeks in terms of, again, because we don't know where Ledge Light is at. And obviously it's not the end of the month, but it would give us an additional week if we needed it.
I can guarantee I will be on the phone first thing in the morning with Ledge Light trying to find. So I did, like I said, I spoke with Ms. Holmes on Friday. We went over a couple of things. She wasn't in the office when we discussed it, so she was not completely familiar with it. But we had emailed her all the plans, and under the executive orders, that's sufficient at this point in time. So I don't know what some of her other comments are. The fact that it's a draft, they were still stamped and signed. So that, if she wants additional information on them, she wasn't able to tell me what it was on Friday, which, as I said, is frustrating simply because Ledge Light has had these plans for months now. But I will do my best tomorrow to make sure that I can nail her down and find out what, if anything, she thinks she needs, and we'll get it to her by the end of the week.
Okay. Yeah, so by the end of the week, you would have all the stuff to her, and then do we have a sense how hard it is for her to go through this? I mean, would it be reasonable to say in a week that she could be done?
I'm just going to clarify that I know that for Ledge Light, they do things in order of receipt. So even if you got things to them on Friday, they put you to the back of the pile because that is their policy. So I don't know under the circumstances, because she's had this information, if it would move it to the front.
I think when the application was filed, that would be the order it would go in.
It doesn't.
Really.
Well, and I did discuss with her, Mr. Chairman, the fact that we had this application pending, and this was of primary importance to get resolved, that we had another application for a separate lot that was under contract, which unfortunately is no longer under contract because we couldn't get the approval timely. But that this was it. And that was part of my reason for reaching out to her supervisor to say, look, this thing has been there since March. It needs to be it needs to be taken up and moved to the top of the pile regard. But the part of the problem is we haven't received comments other than, I need a stamped plan or whatever, which has all been done. I'm not aware of any comments from her at this point, based on my conversation Friday, that she has any issues with it other than she was unfamiliar with it at this point when we were asking for.
I don't know what I can do to help with any of that. All that I'm trying to find out right now is when I can try to plan our next meeting.
If not, perhaps next Tuesday, next Thursday, that should be adequate time for us to get a response.
Okay, I'm going to jump in just to be clear about scheduling for next week. Gary has a wetlands meeting on Monday. That's very large. And we also have a zoning meeting on Thursday. So this Zoom platform will not be available at those two times because we have public hearings already scheduled for other agencies on those 2 days.
Is there anything on
Tuesday and Wednesday would still be open.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's. Do I hear a motion to continue the public hearing till the Tuesday? What's the date?
The 11th.
The 11th.
11th. I'm looking for a motion to continue the public hearing on the 11th at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Thank you, Michelle. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Mr. Bomback. Any further discussion about this?
I just want to make sure everyone can attend. The members.
I'm available. Gary?
I am available.
Okay, so if any of the commissioners are not available, please speak up. Okay, hearing nothing, I'm going to continue with the motion and take a vote. Michelle Williams?
Aye.
Tom Fitting,
Aye.
Rich Gordon,
Aye.
Mary Salvatore,
Aye.
Kirk Scott, myself, aye. Brian Bomback.
Aye.
Okay, so let the record show that we're going to continue this meeting, the public hearing on August 11th at 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, commission members. Appreciate your efforts.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so that brings us through. That's both of our items that we had up for. We did the public hearing. Okay, so this is subdivisions, re-subdivisions. Item A, we are tabling this pending our next public hearing on the 11th. And zoning referrals, there are none. Municipal referrals, there are none. Old business, none. Which brings us to adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I submit a motion. Rich Gordon. To adjourn.
Thank you, Rich. Do I hear a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Fitting. Any further discussion? Okay, so let's have a vote. Michelle,
Aye.
Tom Fitting,
Aye.
Rich Gordon,
Aye.
Mary Salvatore,
Aye.
Kirk Scott, myself, aye. Mr. Bomback,
Aye.
meeting adjourned, 7:37. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.